Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with the, I suppose, final video in Airspeed Reads Naruto, and that is going to be the final wrap-up video here. It's going to be my top 10 Naruto moments from the manga, and I'm going to also include one honorable mention. So, effectively my top 11, but the top 10 I definitely am making the note of just them. I really put a lot of effort into forming that list of a top 10. Even if the list itself isn't exactly in like the order that I necessarily would put those scenes in. So don't put a lot of stock into the exact positionings and stuff like that. My one is realistically my number one moment, and I try roughly to order it so that my really favorite moments are towards the top of the list and towards the bottom. But if this one in the middle of the list, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the order there, it's kind of just interchangeable. The only real distinctions would probably be the top 3, maybe little bits and pieces here and there. So yeah, just be aware of that. And of course it is moments, so it's kind of hard to stretch it so that some of them are fights, some of them are specific moments in fights, some of them are just scenes or moments that relate to a scene and how they combine together overall to a really strong moment. So it's not super strict on oh, a moment has to only be a couple of pages long. No, I literally full on fights are on this list. So let's jump straight in with my honorable mention. So yes, my honorable mention is Naruto versus Neji. So it's from part 1, of course, specifically from the volumes here. This is the volume 10, 11, and 12 collection, 3 in 1, and it obviously appears in the final volume here, so it's in volume 12. And I suppose what I'm mainly choosing this fight for is, one, yes, it is a very good fight. And the fight and the action is certainly an aspect of why I'm choosing this as my honorable mention. But I think the main reason I'm choosing it here is for the story behind this fight. The action's great, but the setup of the impact of the Hinata Neji fight on Naruto, and how kind of passionately Naruto 1 is kind of in a way fighting for Hinata, but also fighting for himself in that he disagrees with the way Neji's kind of idea on things, that you can't change who you are or change your destiny and stuff like that. He fundamentally disagrees with that, and how come the end of the fight, the dialogue, I think it's so perfect for what this stage of the story was kind of about. It's Naruto's first, really major victory over someone he maybe wasn't meant to defeat. The Kiba fight, of course, was a big notable moment for him in terms of some people standing up to see him as oh, we'll keep an eye on him, but it was only Kiba. Here it's Neji was set up as a rival for Sasuke, and now Naruto has beaten him, so it immediately is kind of positioning Naruto as being much better than even we as the readers believe. And I think the main reason, if I had to specifically choose a moment from this fight, it would definitely be the kind of the victory dialogue here, and Neji on the ground saying, in the middle of all that, you managed to create a shadow doppelganger, your signature ninjutsu. That was careless of me. And Naruto's response to this, really great moment. I failed the academy graduation exam 3 times. Because, unlucky for me, the exam always tested the same ninjutsu, my absolute weakest ninjutsu. And my absolute weakest ninjutsu, and my absolute weakness ninjutsu was Bunshin no Jutsu, the art of the doppelganger. So just the straight up standard clone jutsu. So shut up about destiny and inescapable fate. You shouldn't whine about such trivial stuff, because unlike me, you're not a failure. The winner is Uzumaki Naruto. I think it's such a great speech here because everyone knows kind of what's coming when he kind of says, I failed the exam, and what he means by the whole idea of, I was awful at clone jutsu. In that now, he is considered by Neji to be a expert at shadow clones, and that really is so telling of the fact that Naruto has changed from being someone who couldn't even do a normal clone jutsu to being someone who can so cleverly use shadow clones. That immediately showcases someone can change. And if a failure like Naruto can change, what does that mean for a genius like Neji? Of course Neji can change. And so it's this really strong moment for Naruto, but it's also a important character moment for Neji because it's so defining for him as a character, like after this moment, in that he really does, even though we don't see a lot of him, just the fact that like we know he becomes basically the first Jonin from this group of Naruto's kind of classmates or people in or around his age, and then the death of Neji in the later volumes and how he's basically in a way thanking Naruto, and just this is kind of his last kind of moment is just to protect Naruto, the one who allowed him to in any way be free and not kind of held down by the inescapable fate of being from the Branch family. I thought it was just such a great moment for both characters as well as being a great fight. So that's why I choose, I suppose, specifically this moment from the manga here. The dialogue is just so well done, and the whole idea of like changing with Hinata that they've done just prior to that they've done here with Naruto, and then showing to Neji that he also can change. So that's my honorable mention. But if a moment that good doesn't make the top 10, what does that say about the moments that are in my top 10? There will probably be some surprises as we're just about to start it, but these are moments that I really, really do like. So let's start with number 10. So as you can see, my number 10 moment is Sasuke meeting with the 4 reanimated, revived Hokages. Hashirama, Tobirama, Sarutobi, and Minato. So he meets with all of them, and the reason I choose this, even though it's a pretty long, it's more or less an entire volume, as you can sort of see from this. It's the one with this cover, volume 65, and it is an important volume. I am going to highlight a few of these kind of moments throughout this kind of back and forth, because I think it's such an important moment for Sasuke as a character, because he's just had all these moments of like kind of being in a way manipulated by people and kind of controlled, and here's a moment where he's just kind of making the decision to just decide on his own, get the information that he doesn't know from the people who know about it, and then decide from here on out. And it was so great to just have him asking all of the Kage really difficult questions and then just answer him honestly, because they can see, even if not all of them are from Sasuke's generation and know him, they all are aware of like the significance of what they say to him and the impact that it could have on him, because they can see that he has the Mangekyo Sharingan and so on. So I really like how important this kind of moment is, of just, this is what his kind of plan has been since he kind of has come out of the war in a way. Since like the war has started, is just to get this news and decide from here what the whole idea should be. And it's just interesting in that like we go through it, it's the third Hokage who kind of speaks up first to kind of just basically agree that like that's exactly what what Itachi did. He did everything for the village. He sacrificed everything kind of about himself for the sake of the village, and we put everything kind of on him. And Sarutobi does note that at all of 7 years of age, he thought quite like a Hokage. So that like that in a way they considered him like that he could have almost been an Uchiha Hokage if it wasn't for just the situation that he was in, of the threat that the Uchiha were causing to the village at that point. And from there we kind of transition into Tobirama, and him being one of the people who comes across as very hardline against the Uchiha, that like, oh, he gave them the job as like the head of the police, but that was just to separate them from the village. But like his perspective is just like, no, I gave them a job they were completely qualified for, while also acknowledging the fact that they were a threat to the village, that if they ever rebelled against the village, it would be a huge threat. So yeah, he kept them on the outskirts, but he was just doing what he felt was needed for the village. Because as he notes here, I think that it's a very important moment for Tobirama as a character, is that they're a cursed clan, but in fact you know, it's not that they base everything on their physical strength, their eye powers. It's that, you know, there's no clan that feels deeper love than the Uchiha, and that is why the Uchiha have suppressed and sealed it away. That, you know, his explanation here of what exactly the Sharingan is, why it activates, why it actually forms within the Uchiha, is because they care so much that, you know, a special chakra affects their eyes when something terrible happens. And I just really like that as a moment from him. And then, of course, the focus of this entire volume is on like Hashirama and Madara's backstory. But the core question that he asks Hashirama is, you know, in a way, like, what does it mean to be a shinobi? What is a village, and like, why is it important? These sort of questions, in terms of like, he's basically decided with what Itachi had to do for the village. Why should I in any way respect that sort of a decision? And I love how the response is, you know, like that, you know, Hashirama says, I would have done anything for the sake of the village, including, as far as I'm aware, I killed my friend, because as far as Hashirama is aware, he did kill Madara. And he says, the village Madara and I envisioned in the beginning is something that joined one clan to another, an invaluable cornerstone that created order out of chaos and then maintained it. It protected the children, averted pointless conflict, and made peace a reality. However, it also gave rise to darkness, such as that borne by your older brother Itachi. And just kind of pointing out that shinobi are those who endure for a purpose, but depending on what that purpose is, a shinobi can change, just as Madara and I both did. And that's kind of what Sasuke takes from this. Shinobi are those who endure in order to achieve their goals. And the village is important because it gave structure to a world that didn't have structure at the time. And Itachi making that decision to basically side with the village over his own clan represented something that was so important, because one of the other big moments would be just Tobirama cutting in here at the end to basically note that I didn't hate the Uchiha. I actually had some really good Uchiha people like directly working alongside me, because the Uchiha who were able to get beyond the insane clan ties were some of the best kind of, you know, shinobi that were possible, because they were able to, you know, focus that, you know, passion on the village rather than just their own clan and potentially like selfishness. And that's where, you know, the mention of, you know, Kagami and, you know, Shisui and Itachi kind of come in. And the question now is, of course, is Sasuke going to be the new Shisui or Itachi, or is he going to be the new Madara? And that's what his decision is really up to. And he makes the decision to, you know, save the world, basically, join the war and stop what Madara is doing, because at the very least, Sasuke wants the world to still exist. So, you know, a bit of a cop-out here in choosing effectively an entire volume, but I suppose just the importance of all these things he learned from the Kage, I think, was just so notable that just this group of scenes is one that I felt like had to come on the list. Because I kind of copped out and didn't choose one moment, that's why I'm placing it number 10 and not higher. But there are also some great moments coming up. So that's my number 10, and we'll move on to number 9. So yeah, number 9, kind of a hard one to just describe as like one moment, but I suppose effectively just why Obito ended up as a bad guy. Him witnessing the death of Rin, and I suppose where they go with that. The kind of early stuff with Obito is kind of what I've chosen here. So effectively, certain scenes from 63, and then how they link into a certain moment in 66. So of course 63 is where we get the reveal of like, why is Obito alive? Why is he a villain? And effectively the moment that happens is when he witnesses what appears to be Kakashi killing Rin, and this is the moment where they both awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, and how that leads to Obito slaughtering all of the other ninja who were around, and basically the I'm in hell moment, the big reality-breaking moment for Obito as a character that turns him onto this downward spiral that we later learn, of course, that was orchestrated by Madara to get Obito onto his side so that he could manipulate him. But it is such an emotional moment, because we've known at this point that basically Obito loves Rin, and he died, you know, in the flashback in like volume 27, asking Kakashi to basically, protect Rin going forward with the Sharingan that he gave him, and to see Kakashi be the one to actually kill Rin. It's a reality breaking moment because effectively he basically, says, let's create a world where you exist again. And this is where he gets on board with the idea of the infinite Tsukiyomi, where that can be possible. But we then later on, when actually, Kakashi and Obito actually fight, we get the big hole in the heart moment. And the dialogue here I think is very important because it comes after Obito has basically just revealed that this isn't because of, you killed Rin. It's not just because of that. He understands that, afterwards he understood that, oh, it was actually, this Three Tails incident, and Rin actually effectively sacrificed herself to your attack. It wasn't you who directly attacked her. But he basically says here, to me, Rin is someone who isn't meant to die. Thus, the dead Rin is also an imposter. Rin is only Rin alive. The Shinobi system, the village, what's created all these circumstances, and Shinobi 2, what caused me to despair is the world itself, this counterfeit world. And, just pointing out the fact, no need to feel guilty at all, Kakashi. This hole was opened up by this world of hell. And I think that's just a really, really interesting take on that sort of a kind of character thing, and that a lot of our villains in Naruto do come from characters who have lost someone in the past and how they've dealt with that. And a lot of early stuff in Shippuden was Naruto dealing with his own loss, when he loses someone he cares about, how does he deal with it, and he becomes stronger from it. But a lot of the villains kind of choose to take this path where they do turn villainous, that the fact that they, like the Uchiha, the fact that they care so much causes these losses to just be these earth-shattering moments for them, where these really, really bad things that affect the world end up happening. And so this Obito moment, in terms of something that really forms him into such a strong character later on in the series, and how they use him as the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, Naruto ending up being able to turn him around and get him back on track, I thought was so overall well done. So my number 9 moment is, just that kind of combination of the moment that turned Obito onto Madara's side, and I suppose the true reveal about what actually happened in that. Yes, it initially seems like it's revenge against Kakashi, but it's actually that he wants revenge against the world for allowing this to happen, which is effectively kind of what Sasuke ends up doing later on, where instead of blaming it on the village, he decides to actually take it out on the shinobi world, the structure of the world, as a way to reform things once he's destroyed it all. So that's my number 9, and we'll move into number 8 now. So yeah, my number 8 moment is Naruto and Dark Naruto at the Waterfall of Truth. So to set this up, I suppose, the moment effectively, I think, is based on moments from the 3 different volumes. So we have a scene in volume 48, a scene in volume 52, and then of course the big moment in volume 53, which I think, rereading a lot of stuff for this video, volume 53 is probably my favorite volume of Naruto. We'll come back to this later on the list, of course, with a different scene, but for now let's get into talking about this. So the scene in volume 48, the earliest volume here that I'm talking about, is after the defeat of Pain, Naruto being hailed as a hero, and kind of being shocked to just have the whole village treat him as a hero from here on out. He kind of doesn't really know how to act, and eventually, it's this happy moment, and he's all celebratory, which eventually leads to, after obviously a lot of stuff happens, a moment where he's back in Ichiraku, eating ramen, and he's asked for his autograph and doesn't know what to do. It's not that he's angry or anything like that. It's just he has no idea what to really say. The guy says, "What's wrong? You can't do it." And he says, "I'm not that. It's not that. I'm just not used to this celebrity thing yet. I don't really have an autograph either." And the owner of Ichiraku says, "Everyone's making such a fuss over him lately as a miracle lad. What an about face from not too long ago. Can't blame the boy for feeling as he does, as he's kind of, he doesn't really know what to do." And we just kind of move away before really knowing kind of what exactly is happening. And it just seems like a kind of almost odd moment that he's now the hero and like what's happening here. But it is in fact this really strong moment that I've always loved in like the anime, and then especially how it's done in the manga, of just, yes, this is what he wanted all along, to be acknowledged by everyone in the village. That is the path to becoming Hokage. You are acknowledged first, then you become Hokage, not the other way around. And so this is a huge moment that the village sees him as a hero now. He saved everyone. But for him, having been on his own for so long, and the village having treated him as an outcast for so many of the like early stages of his kind of life, to now suddenly have that about face, as Teuchi mentions just there, it is this moment of like, does he not feel any sort of resentment towards them for like, oh, I saved you all, now you all like me. You didn't try to help me when I was struggling in the past. It had to rely on Iruka and then the friends that I formed later on for that to be the case. And it comes out here at the Waterfall of Truth. And I think it's such a great moment because it is just this idea of kind of confronting the darkness that's in yourself. And with Naruto, we often think there is no darkness with him. He's just the main character, the good guy. But I love how they use what the darkness for Naruto is the resentment towards the villagers for turning like that so easily. Going from treating him as if he doesn't even exist to treating him as the hero. And I love how after, I suppose, understanding B's backstory and how he kind of, I suppose, learned to accept being a Jinchuriki, Naruto kind of had the turn of heart as well of what he kind of decides. And he shows his dark side, basically, you know, what's the details of what it says. You're supposed to be able to show your heart's truth in this place. So let me concentrate and show it to you. And he shows off his autograph here. Hokage candidate number 1, Naruto. So he's made his autograph. This is my autograph. And he says, this is the autograph I didn't give them back at Ichiraku. And I love that the Dark Naruto blows up at this. He's been the one in kind of control, composed this entire time, but he just kind of breaks down at this point. So what, you've come up with that? What a joke. The villagers fall over you to deceive you. They've been lying to us since you were kids, making us outcasts, don't you remember? You know, I was the only one to understand you, this dark side of you. You can't trust any of those villagers. And Naruto's response is just like, yeah, the villagers are important, but there's someone else that I've got to trust first. I need to believe in myself. I need to trust the me that the villagers believe in. And, you know, you see the Dark Naruto really, really break down here. You think I'm in your way, then what exactly was I to you? And it's just this idea of, like, I was strong because you existed. It's how I got where I am today. And where he goes from here on out is that, you know, you need to be me since you are me. And I love that hug moment. I think they do a better job of it in the anime just because of the music, the voice acting, and they give it, like, obviously it gets the full screen treatment rather than just one panel. Like, I almost feel that this kind of 2 pages should have been just a big double page spread with the hug moment. It's well done for sure, and I just like that it's just him accepting this, but accepting that he also doesn't feel resentment towards them. He notes that, like, yeah, it was a turn, but it's better that they feel this way now, and that I don't resent them for feeling that way, and we'll go on from here. So I really, really like this moment. That's why I place it, you know, relatively high up on my list. So yeah, that's the next one, and we'll move on with the list. So number 7 is basically, you know, the Naruto Gaara fight, but I suppose primarily focused on just the emotional, like, character development for Gaara, and the general, I suppose, core of what this fight is at the end, in that it is, you know, we don't know it at the time, but 2 Jinchurikis fighting each other, and basically Naruto noting this and noting that he could have become exactly like Gaara if he had, you know, taken a different path in how he dealt with his loneliness versus how Gaara dealt with his. And And so I suppose the moment, primarily is going to be the dialogue towards the end of the fight, but I do feel it needs the context of Gaara's backstory from volume 15, which is basically, it's the Yashimaru incident. It's the whole idea of, wounds of the body are easy to heal, but wounds to the heart are more troublesome, and they're extremely slow to heal, and the only kind of cure for that is love. And how Yashimaru is the one to kind of teach him this, but then, as far as Gaara is aware, he just comes to assassinate him basically the following day, and he just says, I am doing this as revenge against you for, basically, I hold you responsible for killing my sister when she gave birth to you. And he basically just says to him, you were never loved. Now please die with me. Of course, Gaara survives this incident, but it's just this moment where Gaara's basically just learned, I suppose, about the true concept of love from someone he cares about, and then that person has immediately turned around and tried to kill him, and so this is obviously the moment where he carves the love symbol into his forehead. And it's just the kind of just emotional abuse Gaara suffered when he was younger, and how that's turned him into that kind of dark kind of character that he is early on in the series. And how over the course of the fight, it's obviously Naruto proving himself, but by the end, it's this key moment of just Gaara kind of pointing out, like, why are you fighting so hard? He eventually is aware, I suppose, of that Naruto is very similar to him, but eventually it's just like, don't come anywhere near me. And the big moment from Naruto is, that pain of being all alone. It's not trivial. The way you feel, I don't know why, but I understand it so well, the hurt. But I've got people who care about me now, people that are important to me. I won't let you hurt them. Even if I have to kill you, I will stop this. And Gaara's response is, why should you care about others? And Naruto's response, I suppose, is the key one here. They saved me from my pit of loneliness, and they understand me. I couldn't live without them. I love them. And this is when Gaara, I suppose, remembers the true meaning of love in a way. The feeling that makes you want to strive for and protect those around you who are precious to you. Love. And then it's Gaara understanding. So that's why he's so strong, as they're both basically KO'd in the fight, but because Naruto is still coming towards Gaara, he has the victory in this fight. But it's just a very strong moment of just this duality of both of these characters throughout the fight, and kind of how they both understand each other so well. It's very, very strong how it's done. Let me just see, can I find that very symbolic panel of the two of them. Yeah, here we go. So just, these 2 pages and the whole idea of this is where Naruto fully gets that understanding of Gaara and realizes how, the past, it makes me shudder. If I'd stayed all alone, I could have been like Gaara. So I really like that moment as, like, it being kind of Naruto's first time fighting someone who kind of is similar to him, which ends up being something that kind of happens with a good few of the villains over the course of the series, of just him fighting characters who are very like him and how they face similar challenges but have taken different paths. It's it ultimately is a very similar thing to like Naruto and Sasuke. It's just this is the first time he experiences that, and it's obviously a very similarity here in that they're both Jinchuriki, and that has added to their loneliness, and so it's such a direct comparison. Whereas like Naruto and Sasuke, as we'll get to on the list, is a different kind of version because of the distinction that Sasuke makes in their fight. But just this idea of like Naruto could have been just like Gaara. Gaara, if he had made a different decision, in a way could have been maybe like a Naruto. If he had chosen to, I suppose, emphasize the love of his brother and sister over, wanting to be alone and separate himself, things could have been very different. So yeah, that is my moment number 7 on my list, and we'll move on to number 6. So yeah, number 6 is Naruto and Sasuke, their first fight at the Valley of the End. So it's the end of Naruto Part 1, volume 25, 26 primarily. And with this one, it is such an important moment because for Shippuden, it ends up being like the overall goal of the series in a way. The plot really kicks into gear with the Akatsuki, of course, in Shippuden. But the character focus for Naruto is basically to become strong enough to get Sasuke back. And so, the reason he has to get Sasuke back is because he loses this first fight to Sasuke. But it's not as simple as that in a way. Because the whole time this rivalry has been building up between them. The few little engagement fights that they've had against each other. Naruto proving himself to be much stronger than Sasuke initially thought, a true rival for him. Sasuke gaining huge developments. Naruto being crazy powerful, more than even Sasuke imagined. And it leading to this fight and, why Sasuke is leaving to gain more power in a way. And the whole idea of Sasuke and bonds, and it's really at this point in this fight that we really truly get to understand Sasuke, because this is where we get the backstory. The start of this fight is where we get the big Itachi incident and kind of what happened and the impact that had on Sasuke. And when it really breaks down to it, the moment I'm choosing is, I think, the key moment of dialogue from this fight of just they're facing right off against each other, and it's the whole, you were alone to begin with. What can you know about me? This pain is born from my family bond. How could you ever know what it means to lose anything? And Naruto's response to this is, it's true, I don't know a thing about having brothers or real parents, but whenever I'm with Master Iruka, I kind of get the picture. And then it's the whole idea of, like, he says, I imagine he's kind of a father. And whenever I'm with you, and I love how they kind of both know what's coming here. I imagine maybe that's what it's like to have a brother. And, basically, what's a really good comparison here is what Sasuke says next is basically the same thing he asks Naruto when he wakes up after they both are KO'd in their second fight. It's, why do you waste so much effort on me? Like, why'd you go so far for me? And Naruto says, because for me, you were part of my family, so that's why I have to stop you. And it's this idea of, yes, I don't know what it's like to lose someone that's very close to me. But this fight, I'm fighting so that it doesn't happen. The person that I want to save is you. You doing what you're doing right now is me losing someone like that. And, Sasuke just wanting to, again, be isolated and going under basically what Itachi said to him of just separate all your ties, kill your best friend, and that's when you'll be, like, truly powerful. And the fight, ending in the way it does end with the whole idea of Sasuke is going to kill Naruto. That's what we're aware going into the final blow. Naruto, though, in the final blow, is only going to put a scratch on Sasuke's forehead protector. He's not going for the kill. And when it comes down to it, their final blow, what happens is that Sasuke has the chance to defeat Naruto because Naruto is going for the forehead protector and is going to get the attack on the forehead protector. So he kind of puts his fingers in like that, so he only basically KOs Naruto instead of killing him. But the scratch on the forehead does indeed happen. You get the distinction just in around here of him closing his hand. But, it's that moment, it's, you don't know what it's like to lose bonds. I do, is the core, I suppose, of this first part, and why I'm choosing it as my number 6 moment here. So, yeah, I believe this is the last Naruto Part 1 moment on my list. Everything else comes from Volume 28 onwards. But, yeah, so we'll move into the top 5 with my number 5 up next. So my number 5 moment is Gaara's speech. And this very much is, it's just one scene, and it's such a memorable scene. I almost forgot about this when I was thinking about the really obvious scenes that, like, had to be on my list somewhere. But then I remembered this, and then, like, rereading this made me remember the anime and how well this speech is done in the anime. And it is just such an amazing moment because it, again, is kind of a moment, really strong moment for Gaara, getting to basically be the commander-in-chief in a way of the, shinobi forces, being the main kind of battlefield leader here. Him being the one to give the speech, and the setup for this moment, and that you have all of the villages lined up. It looks like the shinobi forces are going to work together really nicely, but then you begin to see all of the rivalries and issues between the different nations break out, and little arguments are starting to happen, and you can sort of tell, like, if this continues, the shinobi forces are going to fall apart just because of infighting. And so this speech from Gaara is important to get everyone on the same, path, and like he just stops one fight that he notices from happening and then starts his speech, and he says, in the name of gain and profit for one's nation and village, shinobi have hated and hurt each other for many years, from the first to the third great wars. That hatred desired power, and I was born. In the past, I was hatred and power and a Jinchuriki. I hated this world and all people, and I often thought about destroying both. In some ways, I was no different than the Akatsuki in my plans. But one Konoha shinobi stopped me. That shinobi cried for me, his enemy. He called me friend even though we had done battle. He saved me. We were on different sides, but we were both Jinchuriki. There can be no bad blood between those who have experienced the same pain. There are no enemies here in front of me, for we all bear the pain of having been hurt by the Akatsuki. There is no sand, no stone, no leaf, no mist or cloud. There is only shinobi. If you still can't forgive sand, you can come back and face me when this war is over. That friend who saved me is now a target of our enemy. If he falls into their hands, this world as we know it is finished. I want to protect that friend in this world. I am too young, too inexperienced, so please lend me your strength. And he basically, the last moment is, all who feel as I do, follow me. And he gets everyone on his side because, basically, of the impact that Naruto had on him. And in the early stages of the war, they're fighting to protect Naruto so that the Akatsuki don't get the other tail beast. But such a strong leadership moment, speech moment, from a character who you almost don't expect to be able to give a good speech. But really demonstrating, I suppose, why he was chosen to be the Kazekage and why he was given such a strong, role within the war here. And it is this moment that keeps the shinobi forces together for basically the entire war, just knowing that they're all fighting for the same thing, that they all have the same enemy. And I like that at the end he points out that, like, if you still after this war have issues, fight me then, but now don't fight each other. There's other things to deal with. So it's a really impactful moment for Gaara as a character. It's really nice to see that. So yeah, that is my number 5 moment, and we'll move into number 4 next. So my number 4 moment is basically the end of the Naruto and Pain fight. And it's also, I suppose in a way, the death of Jiraiya isn't on my list, but I suppose this moment in a way kind of covers that as well, because it is an important factor still in here. So it comes in volume 48, the end of the Naruto Pain fight. After Naruto has, of course, got the backstory of Nagato, after asking him, I'll make my decision on what to do after I learn basically why you are as you are. And it is the moment that comes at the end of this, of basically how he manages to convince Nagato to, turn around so much. Because earlier on in their fight, when Naruto was stopped after initially steamrolling Pain, the question was asked of him basically, okay, you're the hero. What are you going to do to fix this world? I, even though you oppose me, am at least doing something to try and deal with what's happening here. What are you actually trying to do other than just stopping me? And Naruto's response to Nagato is, in that case, I'll break the curse. If there's such a thing as peace, I'll find it. I'm not giving up. And it being very, generic in a way, but there's so much impact because he's quoting someone there. He's quoting Jiraiya's book, and Jiraiya's book is quoting Nagato. because that's, the inspiration for, Jiraiya's book in the first place is Nagato, and the character that says those lines in the book is Naruto. And it's such great kind of symbolism how it all comes together here. Of, that's right, they're all from this book, the very first novel Pervy Sage wrote. Pervy Sage was seriously trying to change the world with this book, and in the back of that book he wrote about the disciple that helped provide him with inspiration. It was you, Nagato. And we get the whole idea of, like, yeah, that being what something Nagato said to Jiraiya in the past, the idea that that's who the character in the book is modeled after, and like how he says it, and Naruto just coming out and saying that, my name is a precious heirloom from Pervy Sage. I can't just give up and sully my master's gift. I will be Hokage, and I will bring peace to Amagakure. So please believe in me. And he gets the response, why should I? How can you vow that you will not change? Do you really trust yourself not to change, no matter how much pain befalls you? Can you guarantee it? Can you yourself trust in that vow? And Naruto says, if the main character were to change, it will be a different story. It will become something other than the book our teacher left behind. And the main character wouldn't be Naruto. I can't write novels like Master, so any sequel has to come from the life I live. Which is why, no matter how much it hurts, I gotta keep walking. Because that's who Naruto is. And, in the end, the decision is made by Nagato, and he basically agrees to, accept it. And I like how, this kind of goes, how he words, what he's about to do here, in that he basically just says, I'll use Rinne Rebirth and make up for everything I've done. Everyone I've killed here, I will revive. But he basically just says, war inflicts death, injury, and pain to both sides. The more precious someone is to you, the harder it is to accept they might die. In fact, you convince yourself there's no way they could die. It especially can't be helped with your generation who don't know war. And you might try to find meaning in death, but all there is pain and unbearable hatred. Wasteful death, eternal hatred, and pain that does not heal. That's what war is. And those are things you will face in the coming days, Naruto. With regards to that book and you, it feels like someone set it all up. Or perhaps that was the doing of an actual god. Seems this is it for me. Naruto, I believe you of all people can, fix things, basically. And, Conan kind of continues this and also puts your faith in Naruto. But it's just how, I suppose, masterfully written, the whole idea of Jiraiya being a writer. Writing these books. And the key book is based on Nagato, and the character is named Naruto, and Naruto's named after that, and Minato called his son Naruto because of the book that his own master Jiraiya made. It comes together so nicely, and how in the end, Naruto pointing out that, like, in the past you once quoted this, and Jiraiya is who he is, I am who I am, because of that in a way Naruto kind of is who he is, has this goal because of Nagato, and just kind of pointing out to him again, you used to feel this way, I do as well, I feel that I can do this kind of going forward. That he fundamentally kind of doesn't give him an answer beyond just the whole idea of, like, I won't give up, I won't ever change like you changed, that, this pupil has to be the one, like, is Naruto actually the child of prophecy in a way, and it leads to, him saving the entire village and the celebratory moment which I showed off earlier on, and how that links into that Waterfall of Truth kind of little arc that he has about the resentment towards the villagers. But at this point, it is such a happy moment because it is that he's had moments where everyone's been cheering for him before, but this is just everyone now sees him as Naruto, the hero of the Leaf Village, and he has that respect. And in the back of everyone's mind, they're thinking, he's going to be Hokage one day. Which, up until now, had only been a couple of people. Tsunade, maybe Kakashi. Now everyone thinks that. And that's the impact of the defeat of Pain and how impactful that arc is on the whole series, I think. So that is why this is my number 4 moment. So we'll move into the top 3. Number 3 on my list next. So my number 3 moment is basically the backstory for the premise of the series. The series starts off with, the Ninetales attacked one day, the Hokage died, Naruto was born. What exactly happened there? How Kishimoto goes about revealing the details of what happens there. It's a long scene. It's almost an entire volume once again. But I'm choosing this because it is such a well done moment in the series. The fact that they finally go back and cover in detail that starting point for the series in a way, the birth of Naruto, and have the reveal of like, oh, the fourth Hokage was Naruto's father, and so basically the implication was always that like someone sealed the Ninetales in Naruto, and the implication was that it was the Hokage. But now knowing that his father was the one who sealed it within him, and why that happened, how it had to happen, it's such an emotional backstory, because you do get to know Minato and Kushina so well, and how happy they are to be starting their family and having Naruto. But the big reveal being that like the weakest time for a Jinchuriki with regards to their seal is when a female Jinchuriki is giving birth, and the security that has to be in place, and how this is the time where Tobi, Madara, turns out to be Obito, attacks. And it's brutal what happens here, because Kushina goes through having to, one, give birth, then she has the Ninetales extracted out of her, then she gets stabbed, so she goes through a ton. Minato does a lot of stuff as well. He blocks like the Ninetales attacks. He's like teleporting stuff away. I suppose if I had to choose a big moment, it would probably be the Minato versus Tobi fight. I think that is one of the best executed sequences in the anime, but it's also really well done in the manga as well. Just the idea of like this really making it clear how awesome Minato, the fourth Hokage, was in terms of a fighter. How he used those kunai and how quick he was to teleportation. The cleverness of this kind of sequence of just him throwing the kunai through Tobi, teleporting to it on the other side, and getting the big Rasengan hit in. Such a cool sequence in the middle of all of this stuff going on, that like his son, he has to protect his son, he has to protect his wife, protect the whole village as Hokage, and he still has the patience, the clarity in this moment to come up with such a cool attack. And of course there are other moments like the actual sealing moment away, and how the plan comes into play, about how, of course, Minato sealed a little bit of his chakra in, a decent amount of Kushina's chakra in, to explain previous moments for Naruto, and just the idea that they are placing so much faith in him at this point in time that he will one day learn how to control the Ninetales, and that he will be the child of prophecy, the true child of prophecy, and with the power of the Ninetales, if he learns how to control it, could have a huge impact on the world going forward. Just that how much they really do kind of bequeath onto Naruto at this point in time is really powerful, as it's the death of Minato and Kushina. It's so well done. But the moment, of course, I choose here as my number 3 moment is going to primarily be the Minato Tobi fight. But realistically, I'm choosing the entire kind of backstory in a way. So, yeah, again, another moment from volume 53, and we're still not done with this just yet. But we'll move into number 2 on my list next. So number 2 is Naruto and Sasuke's second fight. Primarily focusing here in terms of a moment on the dialogue that happens after the fight. Basically, how Kishimoto goes about having Sasuke come back to the Leaf Village, basically. That's what I'm choosing here. And, I think the context is a lot of it at the start of the fight, about their different interpretation of kind of what it is to be Hokage, and how Naruto is all about, that it's not the one who becomes Hokage who gets acknowledged by all, but it's the one acknowledged by all who becomes Hokage, and how Sasuke is just living by Itachi's actions, not his words, and he thinks that the Hokage is the one who should basically, take in all the darkness and keep going on your own, and he wants to kind of destroy and rebuild everything. That's what he wants to do as Hokage, and how different it is. The fight itself is really cool as you get to see all their big attacks and how brutal it is, but fundamentally I think what everyone was always waiting for was how Naruto would turn Sasuke around again. And it had to be a lot on Sasuke's side. And I like how the anime did this. They devoted an entire episode of the anime to just Sasuke's thoughts on things at the end of this fight, and it was really, really well done, because effectively the last volume is effectively all about Sasuke in a way. Like, Naruto is Naruto, and he performs in the fight, of course, but it's kind of all about Sasuke for this last section, and it's so well done. And again, like I mentioned in the Naruto Sasuke Part 1 fight, the question asked after the emotional moment, why do you go that far? Why do all that just to get in my way? And, I gained the power to enter darkness and sever all ties, and naturally everyone tries to cut their ties to me too at some point, except for you. You never attempted to cut me off. Why do you keep involving yourself with me? And the answer of it being, seeing you take on all that stuff and get messed up, it kind of hurts. And Sasuke acknowledging that, I was actually the one who was jealous of you. Jealous of the strength that you had to, even in your loneliness, keep going, having no one, and trying desperately to form these bonds, trying to bring people in around you, even if you're doing all these kind of tricks on people. And how Sasuke was very similar. He even though after he lost his family, he had these potential moments of maybe he could have been friends with Naruto earlier on. When he formed the team eventually, he had the moments to just embrace them as his new family. But he had got to the stage where, because of what Itachi had done, he considered it all a weakness and had to get rid of that. And this is where some of the jealousy about the rivalry with Naruto came in. But it coming out that, you had a strength that I didn't have. And you were always walking in front of me like my late brother. And how, in a way, it kind of just ends up being this moment of transitioning into Naruto and Sasuke just kind of squabbling with each other here, as their arms are both missing, they're bleeding out, they're kind of talking about wanting to fight again, but it's in a more lighthearted way now, rather than it being super serious. Sasuke's smiling and just acknowledges that, I admit it, I've lost to you. And just it being that kind of moment of that's all that was really needed, of just, again, this whole idea of when you know someone else's pain, that's such a key aspect of what's going on here. And you don't see Sasuke bringing up what he brought up in Part 1 about the whole idea of when you've lost someone versus not having anyone in the first place. It's very different, and because he knows that Naruto at this point has lost people close to him, and kind of gets the whole idea of it. So just that idea of the monologue from kind of Sasuke at the end. He says at the end, "I'll now start knowing your pain and feelings too, Naruto. You never cut me off. In fact, you keep trying to get closer to me. You could have justifiably come charging at me with hatred, but you never stopped calling me your friend, even though I tried to sever those feelings myself." And how, obviously from there on out, he goes out on his journey of atonement, but, takes the headband with him that is so meaningful to their first fight. I just feel that Kishimoto really got it right come the end of the series, how to approach resolving such a big conflict that had been in place effectively, since at the very least, volume 27, but was present before that. So yeah, that's my that's my number 2 favorite Naruto moment on my list, and we'll move into number 1 now. So my number 1 moment is Naruto meeting his mother, Kushina Uzumaki. I really love this moment because it is very emotional. He'd already met his father, and that was a really strong moment as well. But it was a shorter conversation because it was just meant to be this idea of finally revealing to Naruto that his father was the 4th Hokage. but they didn't really get all that much of a chance to interact. It was more like, you know, you'll have your chance to properly master the Nine Tails, but I'm going to help you out here and deal with this on your own without overly using the Nine Tails. Here, it's obviously the Kushina comes in at the moment as Naruto is actually trying to, you know, master the power of Kurama, the Nine Tails. And the big reveal is that, of course, she was the previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki before Naruto. And, you know, through her we get the backstory of what exactly happened in the past, how Naruto became the Jinchuriki, and how her and Minato died. But I think the core of why I like this moment so much is that, yes, the anime does this couple of episodes exceptionally well, but the manga does it really well also. And it's just the idea of, this is where Naruto's personality came from. Minato is a fairly... he's not, in personality-wise, is not very similar to Naruto at all. He looks like him. They have the whole, like, technique similarity and stuff like that. Physically, you know, they're very similar. Personality-wise, Naruto is, like, all Kushina. And so it's so fun to get to see these moments of just, like, Kushina also saying, you know, like Naruto always does. And just the whole idea of, like, even without knowing the full details, Naruto's just like, I love your red hair, Mom. And she's just like, wow, you're only like the second man to ever praise me for my red hair. And the first was Minato, and how, you know, there's one thing that she always bestows upon the men who compliment her hair, and that is, I love you. And just the whole idea of, you know, when you put together the yellow flash and the red hot habanero, you get the, you know, Konoha's orange Hokage, and that's Naruto. Just the color scheme stuff, the hair connection as we get, like, the backstory of how Kushina and Minato met, the fact that she's from, obviously, the Uzumaki clan, and that's where the name comes from, hence why Naruto isn't Naruto Namikaze or something like that. It's just, it's really well done and emotional, how, especially, we get the whole idea of, like, later on in their conversation, she begins to talk about the fact that she was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki and how she dealt with it, and so on. She meets, obviously, the Jinchuriki before her was the first Hokage's wife, Lady Mito, and how she basically says that I was so lonely, the responsibility almost ruined me, but then Lady Mito told me that though we both came to Konoha to become Jinchuriki, the key was to fill ourselves with love first. Then, even if we had to live as Nine Tails Jinchuriki, we could still be happy. And Naruto notes, you know, you were a Jinchuriki, but you were happy? And she's like, yes. And there's you know, no need for you to cry at this point. So I just think it's so well done, how they do this kind of meeting here, because yes, it's this nice moment, it's this important information about, you know, how she dealt with being a Jinchuriki. She helps Naruto to kind of control the Nine Tails and gain some of his power so he can use the chakra cloak thing at will. But I think almost the reason I like this scene the most is just the moments of the two of them, like, interacting as mother and son, because it is like their first time really doing it, and it is those little similarities of, like, the kind of two of them teasing each other, where, like, he kind of gets really excited when she gets embarrassed and starts saying, you know, a lot, and then, like, especially, like, later on, of course, when we get the whole idea of, like, in the past, what she, like, last said to him about the whole idea of, like, the, you know, eat well and so on, and how he later kind of says that to his father to relay to kind of his mother in the afterlife and so on. It's very, very emotional, but great kind of character appearance here, how they did it overall. So that's my favorite moment in Naruto. It's just, I'm kind of in a way lost for words at kind of how exactly to describe it, because I love that scene so much. But that general thing, Kushina and Naruto's kind of conversation and where they go with it, the different directions with regards to what it means to be a Jinchuriki, just the similarity personality-wise between the two of them, and the Minato Kushina backstory is also nice as well. So yeah, that's my top 10 list. Long video, I know, but I wanted to have a detailed kind of finish up to this series, covering all my favorite moments. Of course, there are many more moments than these ones that I really like. When first kind of trying to come up with this list, I had like a short list of probably like 30 moments that I had to cut down to like 10 plus one honorable mention. So there's probably a decent amount of scenes that I probably just maybe didn't even think about, or scenes on my short list that probably other people consider better. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on my list, as well as let me know what your favorite Naruto moments were. Maybe you don't have to do a full top 10 in the comments, but you know, what are your favorite couple of scenes or something like that. Let me know in the comments below. It'll be interesting to see if there's any similarities, or do people prefer moments that I didn't even touch upon. So that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.